This is Jamey with Someyer Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Uwe Rosenberg's Second Chance. This is a game that I barely gave a first chance because the box kind of looks plain and the name Second Chance didn't really capture me, but it's an Uwe Rosenberg game. I'm really glad I did give it a try because I really ended up enjoying it. It's a flip and write game where you are trying to fill in your grid as much as possible. That's the whole point of the game. Fill in your grid. And players are presented with shapes. So you have a few of these shapes that are out on the table that you're trying to decide, okay, which shape do I want to use to put on my grid at any given time. So every round, all players get the choice between two of these shapes, and they draw one of those shapes on their grid. And I love a couple things that happen here. One is something I haven't mentioned yet, but one is just that choice between the two shapes. And you might think, okay, well, isn't it always better to draw in the bigger shape if there is a bigger shape? But that's not always the case, because you might leave yourself with less room to work with later on in the game when you might actually want that room, and while other players have dropped out because they simply don't have any eligible place to place anything. The other really cool thing happening here is the name of the game, Second Chance. Basically, if you get to the point, if you flip up two of these cards, or if two of these cards are flipped up, and you can't draw any of them on your grid, either of them on your grid, you can say, okay, I want a second chance. And if you do that, you flip up the next card from this deck, and if you can draw it in your grid, you and only you can actually draw it there and can continue playing. Otherwise, you are out of the game. So it's kind of like this last chance it's kind of like a mini climax in the game of you built up at this moment, you're about to go out, but then you get one more chance, and if you get a little lucky, you can actually fill it in on your grid, and then you get to continue playing. When I played my first time the other day, I had like 3 second chances, and every time I was able to get a card that just happened to fit perfectly, and I was able to continue playing for several more rounds after that. So I really like this feeling of I'm almost out, I'm almost there, but here's one more opportunity, not just to fill in one more thing, but to stay in the game, which is huge, so you can keep on filling in more stuff. And I love that it's private to you. Only you are getting that second chance, that specific card. And all other players can see the card that you got. So there's sometimes some groaning around the table because all other players may have wanted that specific card that you drew. I really like that element of second chance. And I'm sure it exists in some form in other games, maybe in some cooperative games. This is a competitive game. But if you can think of other examples of that where you get one more chance to, when you're about to fail, one more chance that involves a little bit of luck to actually stay in the game. I'd love to hear some examples of that in the comments. Also, I wanted to mention, if you do try Second Chance, I think this is a great beginner intro gateway game. And a next level game for it is a game that I mentioned a few times, Cartographers. So if you like Second Chance and give it a try, I would also highly recommend that at some point you level up and go to Cartographers, because they're fairly similar, but Cartographers has a decent amount of rules overhead as compared to this game. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. These are my thoughts about Second Chance. And yeah, thanks.